Allah, for the moon and the stars. Praise Him all day for what is and what was. Take hold of your iman, don't give in to shaitan. All you who believe, please give thanks to Allah. Give thanks.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh everyone, and welcome back to Ramadan with the Rafis.
I hope you are all well, and I hope your Ramadan so far has been going very well for you. So I hope you are having a good time, even though we are in lockdown. I hope you're still making the most of this Ramadan, and hopefully trying to gather and get all the blessings you possibly can and all the rewards you possibly can, because it's the best time and the best month to do that. So today we're back in the studio with another live episode, so if you would like to call in, this is the number on your screen, and if you want to come and tell us a surah, if you want to tell us a dua, if you want to share something with us and tell us how your lockdown Ramadan is going, or something different that you've had to do this Ramadan because of lockdown, or just something in general what you want to tell us, then you feel free to, and the number will be on your screen. So we are back in the studio today with my lovely sisters. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, guys.
Wa alaikum assalam
wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Oh, jazakallah khair. I think you remember the sunnah about replying to your salam with a better salam. So thank you for that. So how are you all doing?
Alhamdulillah.
Yeah, not bad. I think I was a few episodes ago you were saying like when we kind of get to the half point, then after that it's kind of downhill. So I think we're on that downhill slope now. Every day is kind of feeling that bit more easier, and I think it helps that we know we've got Eid around the corner, inshallah. So that's good motivation.
Yeah, exactly. So that's very good. So I just wanted to ask you guys, just to start off the show to get the ball rolling a wee bit. I was just going to ask, what has been your favourite moment, or a moment that you always remember, or something that's just stuck out to you from this Ramadan? Has anybody got anything?
I think just the whole, like obviously when lockdown started before Ramadan started this year, and I think when lockdown started we all instantly started to worry about Ramadan and how our Ramadan would be in lockdown, but I think alhamdulillah it's been great. Like obviously it's different and there are things that I miss from like a normal Ramadan, but and at the same time I feel like there's different things that we can appreciate with this Ramadan. Like the first thing would be like the free time that we've got, and the fact that we've actually got some free time, because usually in Ramadan, because obviously the whole world isn't going to stand still for Ramadan, life continues, like school usually continues and so does work, etc. So we don't usually have free time to do things that we'd like to do in Ramadan, like read Quran or extra nafil prayers and stuff like that. But now that we're all locked down and everything's pretty much closed, we can't really go anywhere or do anything, then we have that time now to do what it is we want to do. So that is something that I really enjoyed, just having that time and knowing you've got that time. And we also know that time is a blessing, so we should make use of that before we get busy. So inshallah, that's what I've enjoyed.
Definitely, and I think one of the things that I've enjoyed the most is being on the show. I mean, can you imagine the Ramadan without being on the show and without having to prepare? And I think we wouldn't really have much to do. I mean, I've got exams, but we wouldn't have much else to do. But I think being on the show has really helped with that.
Yeah, definitely, exactly. So, boys and girls, as we know that as... Fahmi, did you have something to say or not? I just remembered that I started talking and I was like, wait, I think I missed a sister. Do you have anything?
I was just going to say, like you said, free time, but I was going to say, like, the time that we can spend with our family. So, like, getting to spend more time with you guys, even though you annoy me sometimes.
But sometimes as well.
Just spending time with you guys, that's been a highlight of mine.
Right, thank you very much. Sorry I forgot about you. So, basically, because it's our live show, you guys know, you might be thinking, you usually have a question for the live shows that we can call in and answer, and you've not said about it today. Well, we haven't forgot about it, and I do have it right here. So we have a question for you, and you can call in and tell us whatever you think the answer is. And it's usually a multiple choice question, so you have a couple of options to choose from, so hopefully it won't be too hard for you, but it won't be too easy either. So today our question is, to which companion did the Prophet say, this is in quotes, "If there was to be a prophet after me, it would have been you"? So I'll repeat the question again in case you missed it the first time. To which companion did the Prophet say, "If there was to be a prophet after me, it would have been you"? So you have four options, and the first option is Abu Bakr al-Siddiq, radiyallahu anhu. The second one is Uthman bin Affan, radiyallahu anhu. The third one is Ali bin Abu Talib radhiyallahu anhu, and the fourth one is Umar bin al-Khattab radhiyallahu anhu. So they're the 4 options that you have today. So hopefully the question will be on your screen as well in case you missed me saying it. So if you think that you know the answer, then make sure you call in and tell us so we know that you know. And if you don't call in, then we will just assume that nobody knows the answer. But if you do know the answer, please do call in and share it with us because we'd love to hear it.
Inshallah. And we had a question one of our last shows as well, where unfortunately we didn't have any people answering our questions. So inshallah, we really hope, if you're listening, it doesn't matter if you're a bit shy. We were all a bit shy as well before we started, but inshallah we will make you feel very comfortable. It'll just be like having a conversation with one of your friends, inshallah. It won't be anything more than that. And if you would like to call in and share what you think the answer is, then the number is 0141 280 8779.
Exactly, thank you very much. So I think that brings us on to our main topic for today. So I know, because I know we talk about lockdown quite a lot, but we can't help it. It's like the big thing at the moment. So because of lockdown, we might have seen on like the news, or you might have seen like on social media or something, that Umrah has, for the most people, has been cancelled. And if any of you have seen it, I don't know if you guys have seen it, like how they read Tarawih now. There's only like a very few amount of people, and they're all spaced out from each other. So it's very, very different to what it normally is. And Umrah has been stopped, so people that might have already planned their trip to Umrah this year, or people that were about to go on their trip or who were already there, might have been told to go home, and they can no longer do their Umrah, which is such a shame. But inshallah we'll be up and running soon, so they could probably go again. But so because of that, we decided to talk about, sometimes you might just think, oh, we go to Umrah, we go to the Kaaba, and that's it. Or you might think, oh yeah, they're going to Mecca, then they're going to Medina. And then you might just stop there, and you might not actually know why they're so important to us, or what the relevance is, because it could just be like any old place. You might think, oh, why can't they go to like the Statue of Liberty? Or why can't they go to like Spain to do it? Why is it Mecca, Medina, and we also have Jerusalem as well? And why are these 3 places such holy places for Muslims? It doesn't really, you might not actually understand it. So inshallah we're going to tell you about that today, and really hope you get an understanding of why these 3 places are very special to us.
And also I think it would be quite interesting if any boys and girls have been for Umrah or have visited these places. So even if you've not been to Umrah but you've been to Palestine or Jerusalem and you've seen like Masjid al-Aqsa, or if you've actually been for Umrah, then it would be fantastic if you guys could actually call in and tell us how you felt when you were there, or what you've seen. And we've all been, alhamdulillah, for Umrah, and inshallah we'll share a bit about how we felt, and we'll try not to get emotional over it, because I don't know about you guys, but I would really inshallah like to go back very soon, inshallah. But obviously we know because of lockdown that can't happen. And you were talking about, Aisha, some people might have had their plans cancelled and stuff, and one of my friends, actually one of my best friends, she was going to go for Umrah, and she was really excited about it, but unfortunately it's been cancelled, so she was really heartbroken. So I can understand that as well, and even when she told me about it, I was heartbroken for her, because I knew how much she wanted to go. But inshallah, when everything goes back to normal, then inshallah all of this will come back. But we know that this has only been put in place for our safety, the same way our masjids have been closed is for our own safety. And we know within Islam as well that saving a life is a very important thing, and that's what we're encouraged to do. So we're trying to save lives at the moment, which is a lot more important in this current climate. So inshallah, once we've gone over this rough patch, and once everything opens up again, then inshallah we can enjoy the blessings of Mecca, Medina and Jerusalem again.
Yeah, exactly, inshallah. So I think we can start off with Mecca, and some people might already know this because there's some really smart people out there. But Mecca is really important to Muslims for the first reason being because that is where the Quran was revealed to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So the very first time it was revealed, it was when the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was in the cave of Hira, and it was revealed to him through Angel Jibreel alayhi salam. That we all probably, or we might not, but we might do know this story, and then we know that the first word was Iqra that came down. So first of all, that's one of the main reasons why Mecca is so important for us Muslims. But we also know that Prophet Muhammad ﷺ was born there as well, so sometimes we might forget that because you hear about his life stories and all these other stories that he's been a part of in Mecca and Medina, but you might not realise that he was actually born in Mecca. So yeah, that's one of the reasons.
And another thing I think is quite important is, we spoke about this before as well, how important it is for us to appreciate and understand, like having our homes is so important. So even though at some point later on in the story, Prophet ﷺ was actually had to leave Mecca, but that was the Prophet ﷺ's home. That's where his family were. That's where his like extended family, like his uncles and stuff, everyone was there, and that is where he grew up, and that is where he learned everything that he had to know. And then, like you said, that is where he actually was given the job of being a prophet as well. So Mecca held a very, very dear place in the Prophet ﷺ's heart, even though at times the people of Mecca were not very nice to the Prophet ﷺ, and even drove out the Prophet ﷺ and his followers and companions. They drove them out of Mecca. And we know, when we study the seerah, that the Prophet ﷺ was actually very, very reluctant to leave Mecca, because like we know, it's like us as well. When you're home, you're comfortable and you know things, and you just feel so much better being at home. And that is, home was Mecca for the Prophet ﷺ.
I know sometimes when you look at like pictures and that, or you would look at pictures of Mecca, or you look at pictures of the Kaaba, and you just think, oh, that's Mecca. But you never think, oh, the Prophet ﷺ actually walked here, or he actually done business here, or he actually like had a life here. And you sometimes forget that it was like that exact same place.
That's another reason why it's so special.
Especially now, if you were to go in like such tall buildings, the big clock tower, and sometimes that can distract you from the history that's there in Mecca, because we know, like, though, like you said, especially like in Medina as well, like I felt it more in Medina, I think, where if you take a minute and you think the Prophet ﷺ walked in these streets, like he's buried in that masjid, like everything is so special, just every single part is so special about both Mecca and Medina. But I feel like, I don't know, that's my personal opinion, but I feel like you feel like closer to the Prophet ﷺ in Medina, and I feel like the environment in Medina is just so much more like relaxed and welcoming and peaceful. It's just like a different atmosphere. But then Mecca has its own unique history and importance as well, because we know the Kaaba is in Mecca, and we know how important the Kaaba is for Muslims as well.
Yeah, exactly.
I was just gonna speak about that, how like another reason why Mecca is so important is because to read our 5 daily salahs, we face towards the Qibla. That's where we read our namaz.
And it's so nice because I was thinking once, like, why is it like the Kaaba, like that we all turn and pray to? And I know some people have, like some non-Muslims might have the conception that we're praying to the Kaaba, or they might think that we're praying to this box in the middle of Mecca, but which is not the case. The reason the Kaaba is there is that so all the Muslims have one place to pray at, so it's not like there's no unity, it might seem. So if one person is praying one way, another person's praying another way, another person's praying another way, some people might think that's a bit random, like they don't do something together, like they're all just choosing their own paths. So that's why the Kaaba is there, so that we as Muslims can be united in how we pray and where we pray to, which I think is.
And have you also noticed, like, just in masjids, or even like if you were to watch any salah being prayed in Mecca or Medina, and obviously we know when we're praying, like you said, we all face the same way because it's like a show of unity, brotherhood and sisterhood, but even like all our actions are in sync, like we all do the same actions at the same time, and it just looks so disciplined when you watch. Like if you were to look at it from an outsider's point of view, it looks so disciplined and so neat. And even like when like everyone's down in sajda, for example, and just everyone at that one moment in time, their sole focus is their salah and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I think that's a really, really special thing, because it doesn't matter, and I think this is something that you notice when you go to Mecca and Medina that you might not notice otherwise, that it doesn't matter like where someone comes from, what the colour of their skin is. We all, like as Muslims around the world, have that one common thing, and that is Islam and our deen and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that is what we also, even if like someone's from Africa or someone's from China or someone's from Scotland, when we pray, we all recite the same Fatiha, we all recite the same surahs, because the Quran is the same for all of us.
Exactly.
And I think that's really special.
That's what I think so cool about Makkah. Like if you're going to read Salah there, the person beside you could be from like a completely different country, but you're going to read the exact same du'as, the exact same surahs.
And at the end of the day, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sees us all as equal, and the only way that we're different from one another is our deeds. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala isn't like normal human beings. I know some people can maybe be racist or can be like, they do differences in people because of certain ways someone looks or something like that. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sees everyone, no matter where you're from, as equal. And it's only how good you are or how many good deeds that you have that distinguishes you from someone else, and only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows that, and He's the only one that knows the state of our hearts, which is amazing. And that brings me on to my next point, and we were talking about how we go Umrah, but there's also Hajj. And I was researching it, and I found this really, really cool fact because I did not know this. But every single year, approximately 2 million people go for Hajj. So like 2 million Muslims go for Hajj.
2 million.
How, like, I would think it was a lot of people, but maybe I thought like maybe 500,000 or something. Yeah. But 2 million people, that is like 4 times the amount that I thought it was. Like, that's a lot of people, isn't it?
That's crazy. But then see, when you watch like the Hajj on TV, for example, it literally just looks like a sea of people. Like, all you can see is people everywhere. And if you speak to anyone who's been to Hajj, like alhamdulillah, our parents have been to Hajj, and that's one thing that everyone tells you, it's so busy. Like, there's literally people everywhere. But then at the same time, that's also quite, like, it makes you feel quite good that there's so many other Muslims who
you have something in common with so many other people. Exactly,
because sometimes when you meet people, like, that's one thing people get quite nervous about. Like, are we going to have anything in common? Are we going to get on? But if you meet another Muslim, it doesn't necessarily matter where they're from. If you can communicate, the one thing that you would have definitely in common is your deen, which is something so special.
Yeah, exactly. And I've heard in Hajj that even though there's so many people, like, everyone looks after one another. Like, it doesn't matter, like, if they know the person, if they don't know the person, the likelihood is you're not going to know them. Like, you're not going to know all 2 million people. So, but everyone's, like, I've heard, obviously I've not been to Hajj, but they all look after each other and they all make sure that everyone is doing okay. And the fact that Hajj runs so smoothly every year, which is like to cater for 2 million people that aren't usually there, is such a big thing. So it's amazing how it works every single year.
Definitely, because even here, like, I think the closest thing we kind of use as a reference would be maybe like football matches, because there's loads of people at football matches, and even then there's like double the amount of police officers and stuff to try and make sure that everything's working smoothly. But you don't necessarily see like that many police officers like in Mecca, like for Hajj, but still everything just kind of works the way it should. And alhamdulillah, I guess that's like part of the blessings as well, and part of the fact that whoever goes for Hajj is trying that extra little bit more to be a lot more caring or a lot more compassionate, or just trying to follow the Prophet ﷺ's example a lot more, and that's probably what brings out the good side in people. And just before we continue, I think it would be a good point to just revise our question for today. So if anyone's missed it, we've already told everyone what the question is for today, but inshallah we'll just repeat it in case you've missed it. So today's question of the day, which inshallah you can call in and answer, is, to which companion did the Prophet ﷺ say, if there was to be a prophet after me, it would have been you? Now, first of all, what an amazing phrase for the Prophet ﷺ to say to anyone. So which of these companions did the Prophet ﷺ say this phrase to? You have 4 options. The first is Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiyallahu anhu, second is Uthman bin Affan radiyallahu anhu, and C is Ali ibn Abu Talib radiyallahu anhu, and D is Umar bin al-Khattab radiyallahu anhu. So there are 4 very, very important companions of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and inshallah we'll see if we have some time to maybe go into their stories a little bit as well, because it's really interesting learning about the Prophet ﷺ, but it's also really interesting to learn about his companions as well. So inshallah we'll see if we've got time to do that at some point. But for today, that's the question. Those are your options, and the number, if you think you know the answer, which I'm sure a lot of you do, please don't be shy. The number is 0141 280 8779.
Thank you. So I think that brings us on to why we can start talking about Medina now, and I know we had a little bit about Medina at the start, but in Islam, Medina is the second holiest city for us Muslims, and we know that a lot of the times it's referred to as the city of the Prophet, which I think is really, really special. And it's because the Prophet ﷺ, as we might know, he had to migrate from Mecca to Medina, so he had to obviously go with Muslims to flee the persecution, and they settled down in Medina, and the people from Medina were so welcoming to the Prophet ﷺ, which I think that's when you were talking about how when you go to Medina it's just like a different, it feels different atmosphere, and you just kind of feel like everyone's just so
like
happy.
You're being welcomed
again.
again.
You're being welcomed.
Because if you think about the kind of situation in which the Prophet ﷺ and his companions had to leave Mecca, they were literally leaving because their lives were in danger, and that's the kind of treatment they were receiving from the Meccans at the time. And then to have the complete opposite reaction from the Ansar, the people of Medina, and the people of Medina would literally welcome the Prophet ﷺ and the companions with open arms from the minute they got there. And what I thought was really beautiful about the people of Medina, the Ansar, is that when the people from Mecca migrated with the Prophet ﷺ, the people of Medina actually opened up their own homes for everyone, because obviously these people were coming over. They didn't have homes in Medina, but again they needed somewhere to stay. But the Ansar were so kind-hearted, they actually opened their homes up to people as well, because they understood the value of the Prophet ﷺ and the value of his message as well, and they were more than happy to have the Prophet ﷺ in their community and have the people and the companions with him as well, as opposed to like the Meccans who literally drove out the Prophet ﷺ and his companions. So I think you're right, you kind of feel that same like open and kind vibe again when you go to Medina, even this many years on, subhanAllah.
And I know we were talking about how like cool the history of Mecca is, but actually there's a mountain in Medina. It's the highest mountain in Medina, I think. It's called Uhud, and that might sound a bit familiar because that's where the Battle of Uhud took place. And some of the companions of the Prophet, that's where they died, and that's where they were buried. And I think the Prophet's uncle died, and he was buried there as well.
SubhanAllah. And if any of the boys and girls have studied a bit of Seerah, and they'll know about some of the initial battles that happened within Islam, and a lot of them were around the time once the Prophet ﷺ had migrated with his companions to Medina, and the battles took place after that point. And I know, like in my YB4 class, for example, in Al-Mizan, and when we done the Seerah topic not that long ago, that is what we spoke about in our entire topic, just looking at all these battles. So we looked at the Battle of Uhud, we looked at the Battle of Badr, and we looked at even like the Treaty of Hudaybiyah and stuff like that. And these are all very, very important events in our Islamic history, and I think it's important for us to visit these as well, because like in school and stuff, like in high school you get history and you learn about different things, and some people might find history boring, right? I'm one of those people. I do normally find history quite boring, right? But I've noticed when I look into Islamic history, I actually find it really fascinating.
There's so much more interesting.
Yeah, I mean, we might be biased, right? But I feel the same way. Like, I feel like it's a lot more interesting, and I feel like you appreciate your deen a lot more when you realise the struggles that the early Muslims had to go through, and how the deen then got from that point to where we are now.
Yeah, exactly, and that's a perfect way to round off the first half of our show. So thank you, boys and girls, for staying with us for the first half of the show. I hope you are going to join us for the second half of the show as well, but for just now we're going to go for a short break. Assalamu alaikum.
For the moon and the stars, praise Him all day for what is and what was. Take hold of your iman, don't give in to shaitan. All you who believe, please give thanks to Allah.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to the second half of our show, Ramadan with the Rafis. Jazakallah khair for sticking with us. Before we move on to the next segment, I'm just going to do a quick reminder of what our question of the day is today. Just so if you know the answer, feel free to call in and let us know, because we'd love to hear from you. So the question is, to which companion did the Prophet say, if there was to be a Prophet after me, it would have been you? So option A is Abu Bakr al-Siddiq, Raziyallahu anhu. The second option is Uthman bin Affan, Raziyallahu anhu. The third option is Ali bin Abu Talib, Raziyallahu anhu. And the fourth and last option is Umar bin al-Khattab, Raziyallahu anhu. Now that is the question of the day, so if you think you know the answer, feel free to call in and let us know. But for just now, we have our guest back in the studio today. We have Dr. Dean, and we can't wait to see what case we have today to deal with in our spiritual surgeries. Now, Fatma, do you know what the case is today?
Yes, I do. So a young girl phoned in today, and she's saying that she's really trying to finish a whole Quran this month. So she's trying to read as much Quran as possible, but she notices that when she's reading, her eyes get really tired, and also like she gets a sore head, like her brain gets tired. So she's asking Dr. Dean for some tips on how to fix that.
I guess we'll go straight to our doctor then. Assalamu alaikum, doctor.
Wa alaikum salam, wa alaikum salam. Okay, so very interesting question today, and I feel like it might be like as if I should have in my surgery with me today like an optician as well, because you're asking about like her eyes being so. You never know. Amna might have some tips for that, but I'll deal with the spiritual side of it, inshallah, because I'm not a qualified optician. But inshallah, we will ask from the semi-qualified optician soon if she has any tips. So you said that this was a young girl. Sorry, young girl is having some issues because she's really trying to up her game now in this last half, because she wants to try and finish her Quran. Now, first and foremost, I'd like to say well done, mashallah, because that is a fantastic aim to have, fantastic goal to have, and mashallah, for you to even think of that just now is mashallah amazing, so well done for that. Secondly, what I'd like to say is I can understand, although it's a great goal, mashallah, very very nice goal to have, it is a very challenging goal as well, especially if you are not really in the habit of reciting Quran often, because you can be then quite slow in your recitation. So in a lot of the time when we are reciting Quran, and especially if you want to try and finish the Quran within the month of Ramadan, it would make it easier if you have a bit of a faster recitation. But one thing that I want this patient to remember, and all of the boys and girls who are watching to remember as well, is that when it comes to the Quran, or when it comes to anything to do with our deen, we should never try and compromise or kind of let our quality slip just because we want to try and achieve a certain quantity of something. So that even goes for our dhikr. Like if you say, oh, today I want to say 1,000 astaghfirullahs, but if you get to like 847 and then you start to get quite tired and you start to mumble your words a bit, or start to maybe out of tiredness say astaghfirullah incorrectly, then that could actually be quite bad. So we need to remember that it's not the quantity over the quality, but it's your quality over your quantity. So basically what that means is, even if you do something little and often, as long as you do it to the best of your ability, that is still better than like pushing yourself all out and then having that risk of making mistakes, especially when it comes to Quran, because we know within the Quran, within our recitation of the Quran, we have to be very careful, because we don't want to mess up any words or ayahs, and we don't want to pronounce anything wrong, because when we're reciting Quran, we need to make sure we have proper tajweed, we are following all the rules, and we're giving every word and every letter and every sentence its due right, basically. So we're not rushing through it, because the Quran is not made for us to just rush through. It's made for us to reflect on and to understand. So the first thing I'd say is, don't beat yourself up about it, inshallah. Even if you don't reach that goal by Ramadan, all you have to do is kind of move your goalpost a little bit. So even if you get to like Eid and you've not quite finished, just say, okay, I'll give myself another week, or I'll give myself another 2 weeks, whatever time you need. Because Ramadan, yes, it's amazing to recite Quran in Ramadan, but we shouldn't just recite Quran in Ramadan. Our Quran should be our friend throughout our lives, throughout the year. So even though you've started this in Ramadan, inshallah, aim and intend to continue it throughout after Ramadan as well, throughout the year, because inshallah then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will bless you throughout the year as well. But just make sure don't bog yourself down on the fact that you might not be able to achieve this, but also be optimistic and think, inshallah, I can get there, because inshallah that will help you as well. Another thing that I would recommend is a bit more of a practical tip, which is when we are trying to recite Quran, or if you're trying to, for example, recite like a juz in one day, instead of saying, I'm going to sit here and in the next hour or hour and a half I'm going to sit and recite this entire juz, that can be quite tiring for someone, and especially when you're fasting, because your mouth can get quite dry, or you can get a sore head or sore eyes, like this patient was saying. So one thing that's I think important, it would be beneficial for this patient as well, is that you break down your recitation into smaller chunks. So don't just sit there and think, okay, in this one sitting I need to finish this juz. Space it out a bit. I mean, if you look at it, our day's kind of spaced out anyway. We've got 5 salahs, for example, so just read a little portion after every salah, and inshallah by the time you get to Isha you would have finished that juz for the day, and inshallah that way you will kind of build up your energy, maintain your energy as well, and inshallah that should get rid of your kind of sore eyes or your sore head as well. But I don't know if Amna, if you've got any actual specific tips for sore eyes maybe when someone's reading.
Do your eyes get dry when you read?
Well, yeah, I was going to say eye drops, but that's from an optometrist point of view. But all the tips that you've given are definitely very good.
Do you think I could be an optician?
To being a doctor for just now, for your spiritual
to be a doctor.
Okay, inshallah, I'm more than happy to be a doctor in the spiritual surgery, so jazakallah khair. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Doctor. That's some very good, as always, some very good practical advice that we can really take forward going in Ramadan. And I remember telling you guys last time that I'm also trying to finish reading the Quran, and I know sometimes I'm guilty of just trying to rush through a juz in 1 hour, but inshallah from now on I'm going to try and take it slow so I'm getting my tajweed right. But for just now, we do actually have a caller. So, Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, caller. Hello, Assalamu alaikum. I think our caller can't hear us. Maybe Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam.
How are you doing today, caller?
Good.
Good, alhamdulillah. What's your name? Muhammad, is that right? Don't know if I can really hear what you're saying, Muhammad. Wait, try again. Is your name Muhammad? Yeah? Yeah, I can hear you better now. Jazakallah khair. So what is it you want to do for us today? Would you like to recite something, or do you have the answer to our question?
I'm gonna question thing today.
Question? Oh, you have the answer to the question. Very, very good. So, what do you think it is, Muhammad? Do you think it's A, B, C, or D?
Abu Bakr.
You think it's Abu Bakr? So you think it's A? Oh, Jazakallah khair for giving us your opinion. So inshallah we'll tell you at the end of the show if you were right or not. So Muhammad, how has your Ramadan and lockdown been going?
It's been going fine.
Going fine, very good. You sound like you're having a good time, is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very, very good. So Jazakallah khair for calling in and telling us what you think the answer was. That is very, very good, and you were the first caller for today, which is very, very good for us, so we get to hear your voice, which makes us so much happier. Is there anything else you want to do for us while you're on air? Is there anything you want to say? Anything? You maybe a wee Ramadan Mubarak? I think that's Muhammad for us.
I think so.
Yeah, Jazakallah khair, Muhammad. Assalamu alaikum, and thank you so much for calling in. That was wonderful, wasn't it?
Lovely, definitely. Mashallah. It's always good for people to give a try at these questions, because like we said before, some of them are easy, some of them are hard, some of them make you think, but others you might kind of just think, oh duh, that's the answer.
Yeah, and even if you don't get them right, then you can always learn from it, which is amazing.
That's the thing, that's the whole point behind them, because even if you don't know the answer, or you thought it was a certain answer but it isn't, inshallah when you find out the answer, then that's another thing you now know, inshallah.
Yeah, exactly. Jazakallah khair. So I think that brings us swiftly on to Fatima, and Fatima generally gives us really good advice during Ramadan, and something that we can do every day so we can get closer to Jannah, inshallah, and this is her steps to Jannah. So Fatima, what is your step to Jannah today?
Okay, so today's step to Jannah is to every day you can learn one name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and maybe use it in your du'as, or use it I don't know, in like, different ways you can use it. And I have a hadith about this, and the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has 99 names, and whoever knows all of them will go to Jannah.
Oh,
how amazing is that? And I remember when I was in Al-Mazan and I was quite young, and every week my Baja used to play the 99 names, and just over like a matter of like maybe 4 or 5 weeks, I know all the 99 names now just because my badger used to play them every week. So I'm just thinking, imagine how much reward she gets for teaching all the kids in my class, especially me, like the 99 names, and the fact that if you know them and if you use them, then inshallah you'll go to Jannah.
Alhamdulillah, that was a very, very good one. And you also gave us kind of practical tips on how to learn them, because you were also saying one way you could do it was to learn a day, a name. A name a day. A name a day is what I meant to say. Or you could do, as you said, to like, if you play it and if you're listening to it, then that also helps you to remember something. So I know sometimes I was taught like when I was doing my exams, that if you're writing down something, if you're taking notes, that you should say them out loud, because when you hear them whilst you're writing them, or when you just in general when you listen to them, it helps stick them in your brain. So that's a very, very good one. So if we're listening to the 99 names whilst trying to learn them, then inshallah they'll go in your head much quicker. And also this hadith that you said, that inshallah that will help us to get to paradise. And I know a lot of the times when we're making dua, or you want to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for something, you might not know the correct way to go about doing it. And I know a lot of the times that we have so many attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so if you manage to learn them, and you can use them in your specific dua. So if you want to ask for forgiveness, you can call him by his name, as he's the all-forgiver. And if you want to ask for his mercy, then he is the most merciful, so you can ask for his specific names. You don't have to do this, but that will help you when you're making duas.
I think like this is also a really amazing way to like use your time in a better way. So maybe if you do know the 99 names, maybe learn the meanings. Maybe I'm sure there's like a dua after the 99 names that you can recite. So there's something like that. There's always like amazing ways to make up your time.
Exactly. And you know that when you're having a conversation with someone, or if you're maybe texting someone, and when they say your name, you just feel so much more like included, and you feel like
a bit more personal that way.
Yeah, doesn't it? And see, if I was just talking to you, I could just be like, oh yeah, so this is how my day went. But if I say, oh Fatima, this is how my day went, it makes you seem like you specifically want to talk to someone.
The connection feels deeper.
Yeah, it makes it so much more personal. So if you're learning Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's names, then inshallah your connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will get so much stronger, and that's what we all want, isn't it?
Inshallah.
Inshallah. So Jazakallah khair for listening to Fatma's Steps of Jannah, and now we're going to move on to our sister Amina and to see what she has for us today.
Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum everyone. My name's Amina and welcome back to my gratitude garden. Before we begin, make sure you all get out your gratitude gardens as well, get out your gratitude flowers, and get ready to make another flower today with us. So does anyone want to tell the boys and girls what we are grateful for today?
So the thing that
do
you want to?
No, it's fine.
The thing that we're grateful for today is our masjids.
Oh, okay.
And does anyone know why we would be grateful for our masjids?
Well, personally, I was thinking about this, and I think, I mean, I don't know if the boys and girls remember, but near the start of the shows, I think we talked about something that we might miss in this Ramadan, because it's Ramadan and lockdown. And the one thing that I said that I would miss, and I am missing, is like Tarawih in the masjid, and actually having that routine of going to the masjid every day, because in our usual day-to-day lives we don't really make it, although we should make it like a priority, we don't make it a priority really to go to the masjid as often. But in Ramadan is when you make that special effort, and especially for Tarawih, like you get to listen to the recitation of the entire Quran, and you're with people, and you become so friendly with the other people that are there in the masjid with you. And that's like, now that we don't have that, or we can't go to the masjids in the same way, that has made me appreciate our masjids a lot more. And I'm sure like a lot of the boys and girls who get like a lot of their Islamic education from the masjid, like they read the Quran at the masjid, or their Islamic studies at the masjid, and even like not even just masjids, but any sort of Islamic organisation like Al-Mizan as well, like anywhere where you get your Islamic knowledge, now that that's closed, like at the time you might kind of think, oh, I can't be bothered, or you get tired and things like that, but now that it's closed, it is making us appreciate it a lot more. Like I know Fatima the same. Fatima even misses school, and Fatima usually does not miss school at all. So like this is all the kind of things that are coming up. That was for me personally anyway. I feel like that is why I'm appreciating the masjids a lot more.
Definitely. And I think also when you pray, I feel as though it's a completely different feeling when you do it in the masjid compared to at home, and I feel as though I miss that a lot as well. So that's what I'm grateful for today, is the masjids. So although we can't go, I still do feel like it's definitely something that we should be grateful for.
Inshallah, one thing that we can aim to do, is to try and make our homes a masjid. Like now that we are home and we are praying at home, try and because one thing that I think is really important in life is you're only going to, like, things are only going to be the way that you let them be. So if you let this Ramadan be quite sad and quite boring, then that is what it will be. But if you try and make that effort to make it different and interesting and exciting and unique, then inshallah that is what it will be.
Yeah, exactly. So in the last couple of minutes, Amna, can you just show us your garden, what it looks like now?
Definitely. So this is the garden, and I've got my gratitude flower over here, which I'm going to stick into my garden as well. So I'm just going to pop it in this little empty space over here, and that's us got another flower added into our garden.
Mashallah, it's beautiful, and we say that every week, like, mashallah, it's getting better and better, and inshallah once we try and find taller stems, we get some in the back, inshallah.
I feel like the designs in your petals are getting better and better.
Exactly, getting more and more artistic.
I'm changing it up a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. So inshallah we'll get to see what it will be like next week, but for just now that's all we have time for. Jazakallah khair everyone for tuning in and for being with us this Ramadan, and today especially, and I hope to see you next week as well on Tuesday. So until then, Assalamu alaikum.